All right, so get this. We're diving into some seriously wild stuff today. The Philippines is going all out, like full-on sci-fi mode, to battle fake news.
And we're not just talking about any old fake news.
Oh no, this is next-level stuff.
This is about deepfakes.
Deepfakes.
Yeah.
Those things are straight out of a techno thriller.
They're AI, but so good they can make anyone, and I mean anyone,
Even me.
especially you, appear to say or do pretty much anything you can imagine.
Okay, now that's both impressive and terrifying.
Right. And the Philippines is right on the front lines of figuring out how to fight back, which is why we've got a whole stack of reports and analysis here about how they're tackling this head on.
It's not just about the Philippines, is it?
Not even close. This impacts the future of elections globally.
Okay, so buckle up, deep divers, because this is going to get real.
So, to really understand the chaos this could cause, imagine a world where you can't tell if a video of a politician making some wild claim is real or if it's just...
Cooked up in someone's basement.
Exactly. That's the potential we're talking about here.
Okay, I need a real-world example. How could this play out in, say, a Philippine election?
Okay, picture this. A really tight race. Two candidates neck and neck.
I'm picturing it. Go on.
Suddenly, bam! A video surfaces online.
Of one of the candidates.
You got it. And in this video, they're seemingly endorsing some super controversial policy.
Something they never actually support in a million years.
Exactly. And of course, this video, it goes viral. People are outraged, voters are swayed, maybe even.
Enough to decide the election.
Potentially. And then, only after the damage is done,
Someone realizes it's a deepfake.
bingo. But by then, it's too late. The doubt is sown, trust is shattered.
That's scary stuff.
And it gets right to the heart of why free and fair elections matter.
Okay, so how is the Philippines actually fighting back against this? I keep seeing this word pop up. Comelec. Sounds like some kind of futuristic law enforcement agency.
It does sound pretty intense, right?
Right, like something out of Minority Report.
But Comelec is actually their commission on elections. They're kind of like the referees, making sure everyone's playing by the rules.
So someone tries to pull a fast one with a deepfake.
Comelec is there to blow the whistle.
I like it. But how? What are they actually doing to stop this stuff?
Well, they've enacted this thing called Resolution 1064.
Resolution 11064.
Right.
Catchier than I expected.
Right. But don't let the name fool you. This is their battle plan against AI-driven disinformation.
Okay, break it down for me. What does that actually mean they're doing?
So first and foremost, it bans candidates from using AI to create and spread fake content about their opponents.
So, no more AI-generated smear campaigns.
You got it. They're drawing a line in the sand.
So AI for, like, spreading your actual message, maybe? But not for straight-up lying about your opponents.
Precisely. But here's the thing. How do you actually enforce that, right?
Yeah, it's one thing to say, no more deepfakes. It's another to catch someone doing it.
Exactly. And that's where the next part of their strategy comes in. Transparency.
Ooh, transparency. I like the sound of that.
Right. Candidates now have to disclose any use of AI in their campaigns.
Okay, so that makes sense. But how will voters know?
Think of it like those sponsored content labels you see online, but for political campaigns.
Ah, I get it. So you're scrolling through your feed and you see a post from a candidate.
And boom, right there, a label. AI-assisted content.
Interesting. So voters can at least make their own judgments, knowing if AI was involved?
It's about giving voters the information they need to not be fooled by some sneaky algorithm.
Wow. So they're really taking this seriously.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes even further than that. They're putting social media under a microscope.
In what way?
Candidates now have to register all their social media accounts with Comelec.
Every single one.
Every
Wow.
single one. And get this, they're partnering with the big players, your Facebooks, your Twitters, all of them.
To do what? Keep an eye on things.
To actively monitor for AI-generated fakes. Yep.
So that's scrolling we all do every day.
It's an election battleground now.
And Comelec is watching to make sure the fight's clean. That is intense. It really does feel like the Philippines is leading the charge here. Like, are they the first ones to be tackling this so head on?
It's funny you should say that because they're actually pretty in line with what's happening over in Europe, believe it or not.
Really? Where in Europe?
So the European Union, they've been working on this huge EE piece of legislation. It's called the AI Act.
The AI Act. Okay. Catchy.
Right. But it's a big deal because it's meant to be like the rule book for all AI, not just the stuff we're talking about with elections.
So everything from, like, self-driving cars to...
robots that make you coffee. Well, maybe not quite yet, but you get the idea.
Okay, so Lots of ground to cover there.
Okay.
But how does election manipulation fit into all of this?
It's right up there at the top of their list of concerns. They know AI has the potential to really mess with democracy if it's not handled carefully.
Okay, that makes sense. But are they going about it the same way as the Philippines? I mean, the Philippines has Comelec and Resolution 154, and the EU has.
The AI Act. And you know what? They're actually more similar than you might think.
Really? How so?
They're both taking what's called a risk-based approach, which is kind of a fancy way of saying.
That they're not just hitting the panic button and banning all AI outright.
You got it. Because AI itself isn't the problem, right? It's how it's used that matters.
So, like, a hammer can be used to build a house.
Or it can be used as a weapon. Exactly. So instead of saying all AI is bad, ban it all, they're both saying let's figure out which uses of AI are actually risky and put safeguards on those.
I like that. So it's more about setting boundaries, making sure things don't get out of control.
Exactly. It's about identifying specific ways AI can be misused and creating very targeted regulations for those high-risk scenarios.
Give me an example. What kind of scenario would make them slap a big, fat, high-risk label on something?
Okay, imagine an AI system that's specifically designed to target voters with personalized disinformation.
Personalized.
Yeah.
So, like, different lies for different people depending on...
Depending on their online behavior, their demographics, everything. It's like micro-targeting on steroids.
Wow, and this AI is deciding who sees what and when.
And potentially swaying entire elections without people even realizing they're being manipulated. That's the kind of scenario that keeps people up at night.
Yeah, that's some Black Mirror stuff right there. And I'm guessing that is precisely the sort of thing the AI Act is trying to prevent.
You know it. So with high-risk AI, it lays out very specific rules. Things like requiring developers to conduct thorough risk assessments.
So they have to prove they're thinking about the potential consequences of their creations.
Exactly. There also has to be human oversight. You can't just let these systems run wild. And they need clear documentation about how the system works.
So no more black boxes where nobody knows what's going on inside.
Exactly. Transparency is key. And I think what's really fascinating here is that this whole risk-based approach, it's not just a Europe thing anymore.
You're saying more countries are starting to think this way.
Absolutely. Because as AI gets more powerful...
The potential for misuse just keeps growing.
Exactly. And countries are starting to realize that regulations, while important, can only do so much.
Okay, I was just thinking that. What else needs to happen alongside these rules and regulations to make sure this technology doesn't spiral out of control?
We need to equip people with the knowledge and the skills to identify and resist disinformation themselves.
So even with the best referees in the world,
You still need players who know how to play fair and how to spot a dirty trick.
we're talking media literacy then. But how do you actually teach people to be more discerning, especially these days when there's just so much information flying around that feels like a whole other can of worms?
Yeah, it really does feel like we're talking about building a whole new skill set for navigating, well, the internet, right? Like, it's not just about being tech savvy anymore.
It's about being information savvy. Exactly. Being able to sort the signal from the noise, figure out what's real, what's fake.
And that's where I think Comelec gets it. They're not just trying to catch the bad guys after they've spread disinformation.
They're trying to stop people from falling for it in the first place.
Exactly. They're putting a lot of effort into empowering voters to be more discerning.
Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice? How are they teaching people to spot these deep fakes, these AI-generated tricks?
Well, for one, they're going big on public awareness campaigns, workshops, online resources.
So meeting people where they are, whether it's online or offline.
Exactly. They're even partnering with influencers to get the word out.
Smart. Gotta fight fire with fire, or in this case, fight algorithms with, well, other algorithms, I guess.
Right. And they're doing a good job of breaking it down into easy-to-understand chunks, things like how deepfakes are actually made, the telltale signs you can look for.
So you can spot a fake video even if you're not, like, a tech whiz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're also hammering home the importance of checking your sources, not just believing everything you see online.
It's like that old saying, right? Give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. But in this case...
Teach a voter to spot a deepfake, and you protect democracy.
Exactly.
I like that. You should use that.
Well, it's all thanks to you, really. I
Okay.
mean, this whole conversation has been eye-opening.
Well, I'm glad you think so, because, at the end of the day, the best defense against this stuff, it isn't some fancy algorithm or regulation. It's a well-informed, critical thinking public.
Yeah. Well said. So for all our deep divers out there listening, what's the one thing you want them to remember as we wrap things up. What's the key takeaway here?
Be skeptical. Be curious, be empowered. Don't just passively consume information, question it, verify it, and don't let yourself be manipulated.
Great advice to end on.
Yeah.
Because this whole fight against fake news, especially in the age of AI, it's not going away anytime soon, is it?
Not by a long shot.
So stay vigilant out there, deep divers, keep asking those tough